Everyone, Michael with Writing Research and Technology. So last night I downloaded the film RIP and I paid $3 for it because the pay-as-you-go option, it always makes you feel guilty. So here's my response. So the first thing is the Remixer's manifesto that they talk about, which is culture always builds on the past always tries to control the future, our future is becoming less free, and to build free societies, you must limit control of the past. Alright? All very convincing points, especially in the context of this film. And one of them that really influenced me a lot, or made me think a lot, was the past influencing the present. In the past, culture always builds on the past. And the Walt Disney argument was pretty good, and how a lot of his ideas were based on folk tales and fairy tales from the past. And that's something that I think all writers and creators and filmmakers touch into at some point. Because, well, it's been done before. Usually, like, all the great ideas, they all come from archetypes, back from Greek tragedy and comedy and stuff. They're just remixed into contemporary context, and yeah, I agree with that, but I think that there's a big difference between that and blatant plagiarism. So let's say that I'm doing a project and I find an essay online that really hits all the main points that I want to make. So I paste it into a Word file. I move around a couple words, and I turn the paper in. And that's my remix. No, that's plagiarism. And that's the same thing as taking someone's film, splicing it up and moving around and passing it off as your own, or as your own creation. Or, better yet, taking someone's music, mixing it with someone else's music, and moving it around using something like Pro Tools, and then charging people money to get into a show where you play that music. I'm sorry, but I think there's something fishy going on there with this girl talk guy. Like, I understand that it's like, you know, pop art. It's like Warhol doing his stuff. But still, there's something about profiting off of somebody else's work while making a few changes to it that doesn't sit right with me. Like, and then they showed the whole thing. They tried to justify it by saying that Muddy Waters based his music on the Chain Gangs, or the old Cotton Field songs, or whatever it was. But I still don't think it's the same thing. I mean, he played his guitar and he recorded it himself. He didn't just take a recording and move some things around. And that makes me think of fair use. Fair use makes sense to me. If you're that's the same thing as a writer citing someone else's work, and that's good. To make a point, you borrow from other people, but you give them credit rather than just passing it off as your own. And you know, I watch remixes on YouTube of like Star Wars Kid and Numa Numa and stuff, but that's different. You know, no one's profiting off of that, and that's a big point with me. Like, I don't think somebody should charge money for someone else's work. That's like taking someone's film and showing it in your house and charging people admission at the door. That's very illegal, and it's unethical. It's not right. And I understand that the media companies and the record companies are all evil and everything, but okay, so Trent Reznor came up with an idea, and I'm sure that he stole this idea from someone else, to do the pay-as-you-go thing for some of his music, for some of his Nine Inch Nails albums. Radiohead was the first band that really did it, and that's what they talked about in the film, even though I've heard that Trent was the first one that really started pushing this idea. That's cool, great. But you're already millionaires in the first place. You know, what about people who don't have money? You know, support your local artists. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was Creative Commons. Why would somebody want their work to be stolen? You know, like, what if you put something on Creative Commons and say, you don't have to give credit for me at all, whatsoever. You don't have to cite me. Why? Why would you want someone to take your stuff, tear it apart, move it around, and then pass it off as their own? Like, I'm all about, you know, letting people, if I made something that was good enough, letting people use it, but I want credit at the end. I think anyone would, and I think that anyone that doesn't want credit for what they've done is going to wind up being used.